Now, according to estimates, 1 in 10 people in Ireland have dyslexia, with researchers suspecting the figure to be higher due to the high wait times of assessment, which, as of December 2024, is 18 months.
If you'd like to get in contact about this, we'd love to hear from you. 089 611 111. Joining us to discuss how dyslexia has impacted their lives is lecturer in applied social care in TUD, Keith Murphy, who was diagnosed at the age of 50, as well as his daughter Reilly, who also has dyslexia. Hello, good morning. It's lovely to have you here.
Good morning.
A father-daughter duo to tell us about this.
It's great.
Now, Keith, can you tell me what life... You were diagnosed at 50. So for you, what was life like? What was school like for you?
Well, I went to school kind of in the 80s when it wasn't a very good experience, as you probably heard over the years. For me, school was not a great experience because I couldn't learn how they were teaching me. So it looked like I was, say, not trying, wasn't able to do the work. I was they used to say we were stupid and dumb and things like that. So school was a really negative experience.
And Reilly, I'm sure you've talked to your dad about this. What's it like? You've obviously been diagnosed with dyslexia as well. Is school a lot more forgiving now? Is the education system?
It would definitely, it would be a lot easier than it was for my dad, but it would still be quite hard because I'd have to work quite harder than kind of anyone else. I'd spend hours doing my homework and things like that, but there definitely is a lot more help from school than there would have been for my dad.
So going through life, obviously, when you're told that you're stupid, it has to have a huge effect on who you are as a person, your personality, and the choices that you make in life.
Oh, absolutely. But even in education, you're streamlined to go certain ways, because, you'd be streamlined for maybe a trade or a job like that, or maybe working in the service industry or so forth. You wouldn't really be streamlined to go into more education. So
yeah, it wasn't like you're going to go to college, off you go.
Oh no, not for sure. No, we wouldn't even have been encouraged to do the leaving cert. So for me, it had huge impacts on yourself. So it really affects you and who you are and what you think about yourself. So I would have just grown up believing I was dumb or stupid or I couldn't read or do something wrong. So I just kind of always kept the head beneath the pulpit,
Yeah.
Are there different forms of dyslexia?
Well, there's different strands. It's on a continuum, a spectrum, so different effects. There's different ways that it can affect people. Most people think it's reading, writing, and spelling, but all of that then will impact on the self and how you view yourself. It also is quite, I'd suffer quite bad with short-term memory, trying to articulate information. So you know what you want to say, but then when you try to say it, it doesn't come out right. So then that kind of makes you look a bit stupid in front of people. And then that affects you, and then you don't want to talk in front of people. And yeah.
It has an effect on how you live your life every single day.
Absolutely.
So what led to your diagnosis when you were 50 years old?
Well, so I left school very young, before, I didn't do a leaving cert or anything like that. So I just became a painter. But then I had a really serious accident in 2007, and I did major damage to myself. So I ended up kind of with a disability, so I couldn't paint anymore.
Right.
So then I was in with rehab care, and then they put me to their college, the National Learning Network. So I went back, but I chose something I wanted to do, and then I loved it. So, it's hard to explain, but it's not that I didn't like school or learning. I just didn't like how they taught me.
Yeah.
So the learning I loved. And once I got back into it, I loved it.
And then when was it that...
2010, I went to college. I met a friend of mine in college. She worked for Dyslexia Ireland, and she kind of was saying to me, you definitely have something, get tested. But I resisted it all the way through because I had a belief system of what it was. I related it to intelligence and ability, whereby, I didn't want to say I had it just in case people might think he actually is stupid, because that's kind of how you're thinking all of your life.
That's how you're told.
Yeah. So that's what I was led to believe all of my younger life,
So tell me, you decided you did go and get tested.
Yeah, in I did a degree. So I went to Maynooth in 2010, and I did a certificate, and then I did a degree, and then I did a HDip in teaching, and then I did a Masters of Education. And I was scoring really well, but it was just a massive struggle. As Reilly said, you just work 10 times harder than anybody else. I was kind of surviving on 2 and 3 hours a night sleep, trying to get things done, assignments and all. So the first year of my PhD was a major struggle because you're stepping up to a completely different level, you know?
Yeah.
And it's very solo, so you're expected to kind of, you know,
It's led
talk a
by
lot
you,
and everything else. So I went and got tested in 2017.
So what difference did the diagnosis make?
So it's kind of like, if you could liken it to say, you know, being in this room and it's completely dark, and being in that dark room for years, and then someone turning the light on and you looking around the world and going, oh my God, look at all these things that I've never seen before.
Right.
So it confirmed to me that I wasn't stupid. It confirmed to me that I just did things differently than other people. So my brain processes different than everybody else. So I don't think like you, I don't look at things like you, I don't write, I don't do assignments, we do things totally different than other people. But we still get the job done and we still get the results.
It's incredible what you did. You did so much and then you get the diagnosis. So I'm assuming for you, Reilly, once your dad gets a diagnosis, so this is 8 years ago now that we're talking about getting the diagnosis, were you on the lookout? Like, were you, was it caught early? Like when it was kind of like maybe Reilly has dyslexia?
Well, I got help in school early, like from junior infants. I would have gotten help. And then it was only when I was in 6th class, I went for a test for dyslexia and I found out I was dyslexic.
Right.
So it was caught early enough. So it was lucky that I had it before secondary school.
Yeah.
So I can have all the help in secondary school.
So you're in 5th year now. I mean, whenever we're reading the statistics there, it's 1 in 10 children, they believe, have dyslexia. Do you think the education system is designed? Is it more difficult when you're saying that you're having to work almost twice as hard as everybody else when there's so many people with it?
Definitely, like I'm lucky I have very understanding teachers. So like if I might accidentally miss a deadline because I physically can't get my head around it, like they will help me and I'm able to ask for help, but it's not always like that.
Yeah. And Keith, obviously you went off and you were doing your master's in education. Like you went off and you became a teacher.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming for you, this is an area that you have a huge interest in helping and changing how we help children who have been diagnosed dyslexic.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And I teach in 3rd level, so it's completely different than, say, primary or secondary, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do have a huge, like, passion in raising awareness for it, you know, letting people see what it is and what it isn't. I have a huge passion in changing our teaching methods. I mean, we also have something in this country which is, like, really bad, where people with dyslexia in state exams don't get any extra time, where everywhere else in the world it's a given. And then when they move into 3rd level, there's all these supports available for them that they don't get. So it's a real resourcing issue. You know?
Yeah.
You get it in universities, further education, colleges, PLCs, but you don't get it, say, for your Leaving Cert or your Junior Cert.
Which is where it matters. You would think, like for you, Reilly, for going into your Leaving Cert now next year, how are you feeling about what you're going to be doing, the time constraints, and what you want to do further in life?
Well, it's going to be very difficult while I'm doing my Leaving Cert because I may like read a question and it will take me longer than kind of anyone else to kind of understand what they may be asking me. So then by the time I start writing, like on the Leaving Cert, like we may get a question and it's like suggested that we spend 15 minutes on it, where I might have to spend like 20 minutes on the question or half an hour, like depending on if I can understand it, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
We're talking about dyslexia as if it's a real negative thing. There's a lot of people talk about it being a positive. I mean, doesn't Richard Branson speak about how it's like a superpower? It enables, you said, I think about things a lot different than you would. Yeah. But you probably think about things like big picture. You're a lot more creative. There's a lot more positives from it as well, is there not?
There isn't, because how we're educated in the greater world is a certain method. They call it like
past education, though.
But even today, like how are they educated today? You sit in a room, a teacher deposits information to you, you lodge it in your brain, then you sit in an examination room and you have to withdraw it and put it on a piece of paper. But people with dyslexia and lots of neurodiverse differences don't really, pull information that quickly. When they come under stress, you come under stress, you begin to go blank, you begin to lose your train of thought, you panic, and then you're stuffed. So the extra time and stuff like that and the help is not about like them gaining any advantage. It's just about leveling the playing field.
Playing field.
Like, you read a question in an exam, you will understand the words, but for us, it just takes a little bit more thinking to understand it.
A puzzle that you have to put together, it is.
And you're saying statistics that 1 in 10 have it, but like, you have a 40 to 60% chance that if you have dyslexia or something, you have something else. Like, they're not very seldom, it's not standalone. You'll always have maybe strands of ADHD, autism and stuff, you know. So
we'd love to hear from you in relation to this 0896 111 111, because it's 1 in 10, and how it has in fact impacted your life or what's happening with your children in school. Well, Keith Murphy, you are now a lecturer in applied social care in TUD after doing all of this, only discovering your dyslexia at 50 years of age. And Reilly, your daughter, who's going to be going on to do the Leaving Cert.
A day off school today as well. You say hello to your classmates.
They're not.
Oh, so they're not going to be. Well, they probably will be able to see you now. Actually,
might be.
We'll see you later on in class.
Thanks a million for joining us. We really do appreciate it.